Hello guys, Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the Sporothrix. Now in this video series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits. Meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external factors like Warframe abilities, Warframe kills, pets putting statuses on it, anything like that. I just test the weapon by itself. Okay, let's get into the Sporothrix. So the Sporothrix is an infested sniper rifle that you acquire by doing Deimos Isolation Vault bounties. You'll slowly acquire all the parts for it. It's actually a pretty hard grind for it. There is another non-Isolation Vault bounty that I believe drops Sporothrix parts. It's like the research bounties, I think they're called. I'm not exactly sure. So, cool weapon though. Okay, so let's get into the Sporothrix here. So I'm going to actually go to a blank config just so I can explain the innate things about it. Okay, so innately, the first thing about it is that the radial attack. So let me back up a bit. So the Sporothrix, it's going to shoot out a bullet, and after a few seconds, that pellet will explode on the target. So the initial hit will deal damage, and then the explosion will deal a second instance of damage. Now, the explosion that's caused is going to produce viral. So there's actually no real reason to put viral on the weapon. You can if you want to increase viral weighting, but you don't really need to. So you're going to get viral without even having to have anything on the weapon. The other innate, well, it's not really an innate thing. It's just kind of a weird thing. So if you look at the critical chance is 1%. This weapon has the lowest critical chance of any Warframe weapon in the game. So very, very low critical chance. It actually has an okay critical multiplier. This is kind of like going back to the Nuke War, but the Nuke War had way better than 1% chance. So really low critical chance. Low is in the worst. And then critical multiplier is actually not too bad, but you're not really going to make much use of it. Status chance, one of the best in the game, starting off at 53% with nothing on it. So that's really good. And I believe that's about it for the innate things. It is a sniper rifle, so when you're scoped in, you get a plus 50% headshot multiplier. So that's another thing. Okay, let's go to the actual build here. I'm going to go back in. That way I can clear my little data sheet here. Okay. So for the build, we are going with galvanized chamber for multi-shot. Vigilante armaments for multi-shot. Volatile variant. This is a Sporothrix specific mod. And this makes the Sporothrix even better. So the Sporothrix was already pretty good. It wasn't meta at all, but it was still a pretty good weapon before. But with Volatile Variant, it makes it even better. Because now your shots have a +3 punch through. So you get punch through, which is perfect. And your barbs explode instantly. So before they would explode after like a second or so. And the problem with that was sometimes you would shoot an enemy and, you know, he would walk away from like the dudes he was near, and then he would blow up and it would just hurt him. Or you would shoot the floor and after a second no enemies were around it, so, you know, no one took damage. So with the barbs exploding instantly, you're getting more like on-demand damage from it. And then barbs that strike enemies directly have a +4 meter radius and a +50% status chance, which is super nice. So Volatile Variant just makes the Sporothrix even better than it was. So I would super suggest picking it up. And I'm going to actually go back and I'm going to look in Nora because I'm pretty sure it's in Nora. I just want you guys to know how to get that Volatile Variant.
It's that time again, dreamers.
There it is. So it's rank 25 in Nora here. You're going to pick up Volatile Variant. Okay, let me go back there. Back to the Sporothrix here. Okay. Now we're going to go for Serration for flat damage. And again, because this has such a low crit chance, this is not a crit weapon. It's not even a hybrid weapon. This is a full status weapon. And so we are going full status on this weapon. So we are going to be creating corrosive here first. So we're going to be going with toxin and electric to make corrosive. and then we're going for 2 heat mods to create heat. Although, only 1 heat mod creates heat, but we're going to use both of them to increase our weighting. So if you look at the elements here, our heat is the highest, and that's usually what you want because heat scales infinitely. Slash is also a really good one to have higher up, but we're going to use heat for this build. So that's why we use 2 heat mods. If you were to take like one off, like let me take Hellfire off here, and I look now, my heat is only at 65. So more often than not, I'm going to be getting corrosive procs instead of heat. Heat's almost at the same level as like viral and slash. And, we don't really want that. Corrosive procs are nice, but we want heat more often than the other ones. And so that's why I'm going to put Hellfire on. I typically shy away from the 90% mods because they don't really provide much. Like they're not as good flat damage as the primed mods, and they're not as good status because they have no status as the 60/60 mods. But of course, there's no primed version for heat, so we're just going to go with Hellfire here to increase our heat weighting. Okay, and then we're going to be going for terminal velocity in the Exilis slot. It is not super needed, but this weapon technically has fall off at like 400 meters. And so to increase that fall off, you can use terminal velocity. So maybe you're playing open world and you're shooting really far away, or you're at the end of a Grenier hallway and you have like your allies holding all of the doors open and you're trying to shoot down like 3 tile sets. Terminal velocity may help. There's not much else better to put here. The other one I had on here for a long time was Agile Aim, because you just move slightly quicker when you're moving around while aiming. It's up to you. Even if you even want to save a Forma, you could just not even have an Exilis because they're not really super helpful. But I'm going to use terminal velocity because the weapon technically has fall off. So arcane slot, we're going to be using primary Deadhead, and that's going to increase our headshot multiplier, and it's going to reduce recoil. Oh, and the big thing is going to give us 360% flat damage, which is nice. You can also go with primary Merciless here. But the thing is, like, you're trying to get headshots with this weapon because your direct fire, not the explosive, but the direct fire is going to get 50% headshot multiplier. And so, like, this just adds to it with Deadhead getting a little bit more headshot multiplier. I just feel it kind of themes better with this weapon than Primary Merciless. Primary Merciless stacks also fall off a little bit quicker. And since this, like, it's not a slow firing weapon, but it's not a very quick firing weapon. So, like, since this isn't super quick, like, you're not getting, this does kill quickly, but, like, you're not mowing down enemies with this. And so, like, I like the 12-second stacks of, 24-second, actually. 24-second stacks of Deadhead rather than Merciless's shorter stack count. Merciless still goes up to 360%. It's just you have to stack it more times, and each one falls off a little bit quicker. So, okay. So that's the Sporothrix build there. And again, in this series, I don't mix this weapon with anything. We're just going to test the weapon on its own. So we're going to be using a Big Dumb Inaros with no Archon Shards. No mods on the Inaros that increase weapon damage. No arcanes on him that increase weapon damage. And we're using a pet with no sentinel weapon. And let me make sure I'm in the right one. Weapon test. Yep. So no mods on the pet that deal weapon damage. Okay. So we're going to do a 10-minute Kuva survival on Steel Path, of course. Then after that, we'll do a 10-minute Lua Conjunction.
Scans show Grenier are harvesting Kuva nearby.
So I'm going to cast my 4 to double my armor, and that'll be the last time I use an ability.
Predictable. As expected, Grenier have shut down the environmental systems, sending modified life support capsules. Use these to sustain your environment or attach Kuva catalysts to begin harvesting.
And again, this is a full status build, so we are going to be getting almost entirely white damage. I don't think we'll even... Well, I guess we could technically see a yellow. I mean, we just saw it there. It's a 1% chance you see a yellow. Now, something about the Sporothrix and how you can make it even stronger. I mean, there's a lot of ways to make it even stronger, of course. Like, you can use Roar and things like that. But there are ways to increase your critical chance by a base amount. So increasing your critical chance by a base amount might help you get into yellows or oranges. You probably still wouldn't get into reds. I mean, I guess you could use Citrine, but you would have to be like specifically trying to shoot the little crystals that she forms. So, like, I mean, with Citrine, you could technically have a, you know, crazy, like one of the craziest status weapons in the game, and it doing red crits, which is just, you know, crazy. But she's a little bit, like, you know, it's kind of hard sometimes to shoot the crystals. At least for me, I feel like it is. But, like, a Darza Kavat has, will increase, like, base critical. Or has a buff, rather. Smita has a buff that's a little bit more RNG than a Darza. Harrow can increase base critical. There's a few other weird things that increase base critical. Now, there's a popular mod that is usually used on status weapons. It's the Condition Overload mod. I can't remember exactly what it's called for rifles. It's like Galvanized Shot, maybe, or Galvanized Aptitude. It's either Galvanized Shot or Galvanized Aptitude. And it's not really the best for this weapon. Like, you could maybe make it function. So the problem with the Condition Overload ranged mod is that it only affects direct damage. It doesn't affect the AoE. So most of the damage you're seeing is actually like AoE damage here. The direct damage is still dealing a gigantic amount, right? Like the target I'm actually shooting at that's dying in one hit, like that guy is taking direct damage, but everything else that's dying is taking the AoE damage. So the Condition Overload mod, it would only be affecting your target you are shooting at directly. And that's why I feel like it's not really competitive with anything else that we have on the weapon. Like, even Serration, I feel, is better than it. So, and then God rolled Rivens on this weapon. It would probably look like multi-shot number 1. Flat damage probably like number 2 best stat. And then probably status chance for number 3. Of course, you can't choose what you get on Rivens, but if you were to choose what you could have, those would be the 3 best. So we're going to have the Acolyte here. This is going to do pretty good damage against the Acolyte, too. We got Malice. Malice is the most dangerous Acolyte. So I'm going to kind of wait. All right, I hear that he just put that thing on me, so I'm going to roll, and I'm going to drop his bubble right there. And now it's safe to shoot at Malice. If you try to shoot at Malice before that, he will make you kill yourself. Now, he will recast that bubble, so in a few seconds, if he's not dead, I'll have to shut up and listen for it again. All right, he's dead. So this is a very good Acolyte killer. This is one of the better ones in the game. Now we got a little Cougar Guardian here, so I'm going to just go into my Operator, hit him like that so that he's vulnerable, and now I can kill him. Let me go hit a couple of life supports before I forget about them, because I do have a bad habit of forgetting about them. The other thing I like about the Sporothrix is that it's a sniper rifle, but its zoom mode is not super oppressive. It's not like you have to be like 8 times zoomed in. It's not really that bad. Like you don't feel like you're losing a lot of your peripheral view with the sniper rifle, which I like a lot. I mean, obviously, if you got a Riven that had like negative zoom, it might even feel better. Of course, like unless you want to do like really long range stuff, like with open worlds. Now, the only thing that gets that plus 50% headshot multiplier is your direct shot, not the AoE that it produces. So basically, look at this weapon as like it's producing 2 different damage sources, AoE and its direct pellet that like initially hits the target. So the AoE doesn't. I think it just has like a headshot multiplier of 1, and I don't think it can be modified. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it can be modified, but I don't believe it can. So I have a lot of fun with this weapon. I do like this weapon a lot. It was good in the past. It was just a little bit clunky because it had that like 1.5 second like embed timer where you would shoot it, the pellet would like embed into the target or into the floor wherever you shot at, and it would take like a second or a second and a half for it to blow up. And so like, you know, if you're shooting it at an enemy and then he starts running away from like the group that he's around, it's going to do less damage. Or if you shoot at the floor, and then the enemies, you know, run away from it, or if you end up just killing them through other means, it's not going to do any damage. But with this Sporothrix specific mod, it just improves the quality of life of the Sporothrix by so much. And the Sporothrix ends up, because of it, the Sporothrix ends up doing so much more damage. It's not like the mod itself provides a ridiculous amount more damage. I mean, I guess it does provide a little bit more damage, with more status chance and punch through and stuff. But just the quality of life of it, of those explosions happening instantly, I feel even just that, it's providing so much more damage potential. All right, so we're at 10 minutes.
The longer you fight,
In 10
the
minutes,
more
we got
successful you'll be.
678 kills, which is very, very good. When I do these tests, average weapons usually hit at about like 350 to 400 kills. So this is well above average. This is a very good weapon. All right, we're going to go to extract here. I'm surprised did I get 2 acolytes or just get 1? That's okay. We'll go to Lua Conjunction next year, and we'll fight some acolytes there. We'll do 10 minutes in Lua Conjunction. We'll kill some acolytes. We'll kill some trash. And we're also going to be forced to fight Thraxes in Lua Conjunction, which are kind of like super Eximuses. But this weapon has no problem fighting anything. It's a good Thrax killer, good Eximus killer, good acolyte killer, good trash killer. This weapon doesn't really have any weaknesses. Okay, so we're going to go to Lua here. Circulus. Enemies are going to start a bit higher at like 180 to 200. And they're going to be mixed enemies. They won't just all be Grineer.
These foes deserve your respect. Honor them with quick deaths.
I'm also going to cast my 4 to double my armor, and that'll be the last ability I use.
Wicked Neural Sentry is attempting to purge you from this place. Stand by for life support.
Okay, let's get to the group of enemies here. I probably should have killed those 2 Dragmasters behind me. They probably will steal my weapon. I'm going to get punished for leaving them up. Uh-oh, I'm getting attacked by Cephalon Suda.
Consequences.
That's right. I am not scared of Suda. Oh, there she is up there. Alright, that was a few easy Eximuses gone. Where's that Dragmaster? I just saw him here somewhere in the crowd. He's dead. There's another one right there. Those are probably the 2 from the start. Let me slowly make my way over to the first set of life supports, because dealing with Lua spawns is like the worst thing about Lua Conjunction. They move very slowly. Like, this is only 100 meters away, but if I try to run here and like hit a life support, they're going to take about 2 minutes to get to this location. It's horrible.
Tenno, if you have a necromancer.
So I'm going to hit this life support, and I'm going to kind of meet them halfway so I can start farming little yellow life supports. This weapon can cause self-stagger too, so just keep that in mind. I don't put anti-stagger on my Inaros build. That way I can show how much it staggers, how much it staggers me. That way the viewer themselves can be like, I could deal with that. I don't need to have anti-self-stagger. Or they might be like, Salt staggered himself so much, maybe I do need some kind of anti-stagger. But I don't feel like I'm staggering myself too much with this. It's more like when an enemy runs in front of me while I'm aimed in, I accidentally shoot him. And again, any weapon with punch through, it benefits to line your targets up. So you definitely want to be trying to fight in locations that have kill zones, so you can get the most out of every shot. Like maybe in tight corridors, maybe in hallways, things like that. Of course, if the Warframe you're playing allows it. Some Warframes like more open spaces. we have about 1 minute until the Thraxes come. We also haven't seen our first Acolyte yet, so he could come at about the same time the Thraxes come. If he does, we'll focus on Thraxes first, just because Thraxes are the most dangerous. They're the ones that are going to be sucking your life support away. The Acolyte's just going to be there, kind of just annoying you. I guess if you have Malice spawn, Malice you might want to deal with him, because he will eventually make you kill yourself without, like, you really noticing. Like, even if you're aware of what Malice does and are trying to, you know, doing everything right, he'll recast the bubble at some point, and eventually you'll just forget that you have it on you and you'll kill yourself. So if Malice is up, he might be one of the ones that are worth killing first. Maybe. Unless you can kill it. If you're, like, confident you can kill the Thraxes, like, super quick,
The longer you hold out,
do the Thraxes first.
but extraction is ready. These manifestations must not be allowed a foothold on Wua. Life support is at risk.
Thrax gone.
Destroy them.
Acolyte is also coming just right now. Alright, so who is that? Torment? Torment's not too bad. He's the Hydroid guy. He's a little bit annoying because he has like these invulnerability phases where he goes into his little Hydroid wave, but other than that, he's not too bad. Alright, he's dead. Let's farm some little yellow life supports in this hallway. While we're here, there's a lot of enemies here. So farming the Sporothrix can be a big pain in the butt. I did mine the harder way, which is getting it through Isovault bounties. And it took me a few months of farming to get the Sporothrix. And I play a lot. I play a lot. So playing a lot, taking a few months was pretty friggin' horrible. And I learned, like, after I had gotten the Sporothrix, there's actually an easier way. And so I would encourage people to look that up. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a certain bounty type that I believe is not always up. It's like research bounties or something. And then I tried, after I had got my Sporothrix, I tried those a bit just to see, like, you know, oh my goodness, did I really mess up only doing Isovaults for it? And I believe I did, because it was so much quicker to get, like, Sporothrix parts that way. Again, I can't remember exactly what it is. It's like underground research bounties or something. You do it, you go into the Isovaults in those bounties, but you're not technically doing like the Isovault bounties, like with the Necromex and everything. So maybe someone in the comment section or something will know what I'm talking about and can explain it a little bit better. But that way is a lot better. There's a much higher drop percentage, and the bounties are also a little bit quicker to do than Isovaults. So like right here is a perfect kill zone for the Sporothrix. Just kind of letting them come into that door right there and just blasting at it. Of course, once in a while, go up there, pick up your little life supports that you've created. We're creating life supports. Look at that, we're at 100% again. Almost 9 minutes in. We'll deal with one more Acolyte, and we'll deal with one more set of Thraxes at 10 minutes. You know, the other thing about like Deadhead versus Merciless, I mean, you do reload a lot with this weapon because it only has 9 shots. So I mean, if you feel like you want to use Merciless, you don't mind that the stacks fall off a little bit too much. You will get a little bit quicker reload with Primary Merciless over Primary Deadhead. I just think Deadhead themes a little bit better with this weapon because, you know, when you're aimed in, you get that, if you look at that number to the right of my reticle, plus 50% headshot damage, like you get a little bit extra headshot damage with this weapon, so I feel like Deadhead themes a little bit better because you get another 30% headshot damage with Deadhead. So we have Malice again. He's the dangerous one. So he's gonna spawn. We're gonna kind of wait to blast. He's gonna put that thing on us. There it is. I hear it. I'm gonna roll, and I just left it right there. So now I'm safe to shoot Malice. Now I do think I want to kill Malice first because he probably will cast that bubble in a few seconds again. Where are you? There he is. Okay. Now I'll focus on Thraxus. Get out of this room of death I've created. I'm basically just shooting at the red targets at this point because I don't know what the hell is going on in this room. Okay, they're both dead. So at 10 minutes in, we're at 763 kills. It's actually more than we did on Kuva Survival. I think it was because of that lovely room of death that we had back there. So this did very, 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 very good. I think this is one of the strongest weapons in the game, but I don't think it's like top 10. I think there's a lot of incarnate weapons, unfortunately, that are just all like stacked up in that like top 10 position. But I do think this is not too far behind. Like this is pretty close up there. And it's a unique weapon. It's not just another incarnate assault rifle that does a lot of damage. Or, you know, automatic shotgun that does a lot of damage. It's like kind of a unique weapon. So, okay, go over the build one more time here. So we have the Sporothrix. It is a primary infested sniper rifle. It is a pure status sniper rifle, which is kind of a weird thing, which I like. I like weird, unique weapons. So I'm going to bring up a blank config just to show the innate things for anyone that didn't hear it or didn't remember. So the innate things about the Sporothrix is that the radial attack will have viral. So it's going to shoot out a little bullet, and after a few seconds, that bullet will explode. Well, not a few seconds. It's like a second or a second and a half. Actually, I think it has the embed delay here. Okay, 0.9, so like 1 second. After 1 second, that bullet will explode, and that's where you're going to get your radial damage. So the radial attack will produce viral. So there's no real reason to put viral on the weapon because you get it already. The other thing about the weapon is that it has the lowest critical chance in the game for a Warframe weapon. It does have an okay critical multiplier, though. It's like higher than average. So there are weird ways to increase your base critical chance in the game, like a Darza Kavat, Smita Kavat, playing Harrow, playing Citrine, things like that. There are ways to increase your critical chance by like a base amount. I don't think playing those ways are going to change your build. I think you would still build it for 100% status. It's just that you would have the added benefit of when you're playing those specific ways, maybe you get into full yellow crits, or maybe you get into full orange crits with it. You know, it's not actually going to change your build, though. Your build, I believe, even playing those specific ways will still remain a 100% status build. So, okay, go to config A, and I'm going to go back out and in. That way I don't have these weird numbers there, and the numbers look normal. There we go. Okay, so the build is going to be Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot, Vigilante Armament for multi-shot, Volatile Variant, which is a Sporothrix specific mod that you get through Nightwave. So shots have a +3 punch through and barbs explode instantly. So if you remember what I just said, the barbs, they explode after about a second. Well, with this mod, they explode instantly, and that is going to improve the quality of life on this weapon by a gigantic amount. Honestly, if this weapon just said that, it would still be worth putting, or if this mod just said that, it would still be worth putting on the weapon. But you also get the +3 punch through, and then you get a little added effect where barbs that strike enemies directly have a +4 meter radius and a +50% status chance. So that's even better. Like, oh my goodness, this mod just improves this weapon so much. Then we're going to be using Serration for flat damage, because flat damage on a pure status weapon is kind of the way to go. You go with statuses and flat damage and multi-shot. Those are like the 3 things you go with on a pure status weapon. So that's why we're using Serration. And then for elements, we would normally do, normally it would probably be like Viral and Heat. But because we have Viral on the weapon already, we don't need to have Viral. We can have the second best general element, which is going to be Corrosive. So we're going to make Malignant Force and High Voltage to create Corrosive. And then we're going to put 2 heat mods on. And those 2 heat mods are to increase your heat weighting. So if you look down here, you could look at either of them. I'm just going to look at the radial attack here. So the radial attack, the Corrosive is 130, but our heat is 163. So there's more of a chance that we get... these are all these numbers, if someone for anyone that doesn't know, these numbers are kind of like the chance that a status produced will be of that type. So if something is 50 and another thing is 100, that means that 100 has like a double chance to have itself applied than the 50, if that makes sense. So the heat being at 163, being the highest number of all these statuses, has a higher chance of being applied than anything else, which is good. I mean, Viral is amazing. Viral is like the best general element, but the thing with Viral is it only stacks to 10. So once you get to 10, you don't get anything more out of it. And this being a high status weapon, and we're going high into multi-shot, every time you shoot the weapon, every single individual shot, that's like including the multi-shot, so you know there might be like 4 or 5 bullets going towards the enemy, is going to have 150% status, which means that it's 100% to produce 1 element, and it's a 48.4% chance to produce a second element. So every single shot has a potential of producing 2 elements. And again, that's including we're not including the multi-shot. So the multi-shots are extra shots added on top of that. And so it's likely that with only 2 shots, you're at max Viral stacks. So that's why we don't weight Viral super high, because it stops at 10 and it doesn't go further than that. Things like Heat and things like Slash are better to weight heavier because they go infinitely. All right, I have over-explained that, but I hope that helped someone, maybe. Terminal Velocity. We're going to go with Terminal Velocity for kind of a stupid reason, but there's not much better, and that's because this weapon technically has fall-off. It has fall-off at a very far range, like 400 meters, but if you wanted to be at the end of a Grenier hallway and have your entire team hold the doors open for you, and you shoot down that hallway, it might help. Or if you were playing open world maps, it might help. But to be perfectly honest, there's not really much better to put in the Exilus slot there. The other thing I was running with for a long time was Agile Aim, which just increases your movement speed when aiming. I switched to Terminal Velocity because this weapon technically has fall off, so I'm going to, put it on. So, but if you want to save a forma, you can not even have an Exilus mod there if you don't want to. And then the Arcane slot, I'm going to be using Primary Deadhead. And that's just going to give me a large 360% flat damage, plus 30% headshot multiplier, which is going to add on to the plus 50% headshot multiplier that we get from just aiming in with the weapon because it's a sniper rifle, and minus 50% weapon recoil. You could go with Primary Merciless as well. Primary Merciless is, instead of the headshot multiplier and the weapon recoil, it's going to give you reload speed. It's still going to give you 360% flat damage. But I myself am just going to go with Deadhead, but Merciless is an option. And that, I believe, is it for the Sporothrix build. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. If you liked it, give it a like, and I appreciate your guys' continued support. Thank you. Have a good day.